Hey everyone, Reclamation here with another video today about diminishing returns and how you can practice more effectively within solo queue and competitive as an individual. Firstly, you might be wondering what is diminishing returns and why is it relevant? Effectively, diminishing returns is the idea of receiving less benefits from something as more time or effort is expended. A good analogy for this would be over-exercising. You put all this effort in, but your body has a natural limit before more exercise becomes harmful. I'm using this concept to explain why grinding solo queue, often used or seen as practice for esports athletes. It's actually a poor way to practice, especially for improvement. For instance, footballers would not just play football for 7 hours. They would have drills to develop specific key skills, alongside them potentially playing an internal match where they're asked to utilize a variety of skills depending on the situations created in that game. And that's really how you can cement the idea of these skills that we're working on are not just your overall game, it's really to hone in on these few things and get you up to speed on that area. If we were to apply drills within esports to target specific skills, I believe this would aid the speed of a player's development. Notice that I say the speed, not the level of development. Players who still grind 7 hours a day are still practicing. They will eventually reach the same end goal. The main difference being one approach can cause severe burnout, whereas my ideal approach using DAI or noticing the concept of diminishing returns would allow players to explore other areas or ways of improvement alongside keeping the game fresh, fun, and still engaging for them after a long season. I'm not going to bore you with a deep explanation of fundamental skills. I've provided a list for what I think make up micro and macro skills. We have this list of skills we'd like to develop. Now we just need to build the drills to practice those specific skills or group of skills. I've provided a small list that I've tried in the past or I've seen others talk about or other coaches have actually come up with. This isn't my specific things, and there's things in here that are pretty well known but maybe not done at certain levels. The first few are kind of aimed towards competitive players and scrims. So for instance, we've got blitz scrims. Effectively, you play out the early game and test level 1s, openings, early laning before quitting and trying again. This drill is especially good for developing players, wave management, the jungle interactions, and level 1 team fighting. And you'll genuinely get about 6 scrim games, and they'll be a lot faster and a lot better for really pushing a team's early development. Now, the other one is shot caller days. Each player is elected as the shot caller, where what they say is final. This drill is to develop each player's ability in macro as an overall, but more so for communication. Many players don't actually understand how mentally taxing being a shot caller can be in a tense, high pressure game, as well as what happens if your shot caller is sick. What happens if your shot caller isn't available that day? You need other people in the team that also understand what happens, the requirements of that role, and how that role plays with the team. Pass that over to someone else is a really great asset. The other one is timed alarms, and you can use this as an individual, but typically I've set it up for the team, and it's just setting up an alarm to ring every 30 seconds that forces you to communicate information to the team about, for example, your wave position, where you can move, what play can be made, specifically targeting communication that benefits other macro and micro situations for other players in the team. And it really is a great habit to build. More so, the other application here for as an individual is you could set this up so it rings every 2 to 3 seconds, and that could be an awareness alarm to check the minimap. The ones I've got on show today, which are a bit more easier for some people when they're starting out, is the 1 versus 0. Now, the practice tool can be useful for setting up these drills, though it's pretty good at being able to do this. One in particular is kiting and CSing, while keeping your mouse in a small circle around your champion. If your mouse ever goes outside this circle, except for a trade or to CS or kill a minion, you lose. Rinse and repeat to practice your mouse accuracy, the speed, and also practice your CSing ability. Now, in this clip with Ezreal, I've kindly given the auto attack range, to which I will say that my circle is allowed, but when I actually get into lane, watch my cursor and my movements in lane. I'm literally just walking back and forth, constantly moving, never standing still. I might be in the same position, which is not potentially natural to a normal game. However, this is me just practicing where my mouse input is going, the speed at which it's going, and also where I'm potentially going to position myself to when I go to last hit. There's a few more. The other one I've got on show today is the VOD review, which is a side-by-side. Now, this is something that a lot of people don't do, but can really push your VOD reviews to another level. But set your game to window, bring up the replay, find it on YouTube, try to find the exact matchup in a challenge or a pro game to the nearest patch, and then being able to watch it side by side. The benefits of doing this instead of a typical typical VOD review is it gives visual learners will find this effective for developing their wave management, their trade patterns, combos, and more. The other part is if you're a person that likes to do it in person and likes to actually take a concept and then just immediately apply it, this really also helps you as well, because you're able to literally watch your own input against potentially another player who has a better decision making than yourself. And being able to do that allows you to then see where you're going wrong. And the other parts in there about potentially developing around what am I doing at level 1? What are we doing at level 2? What are we doing at level 3 in these matchups? As well as on wave 1, 2, 3, how are they playing the wave? Where are they positioning it? How is that interacting with the jungle matchup? And if you can get it down to those base bare minimums, your life will get a lot easier for working out what happens in the early game and being able to set a game plan in competitive games, but also just in solo queue in general, to knowing how you can push your limits early before the first base. After first base, games can really take a turn because it's dependent on a million and one other things. So really just keeping it within your control. The other ones we've got on show would be the one-on-one. So each player in a 1v1 sits within a call while calling out the timer on abilities used. So you're having a 1v1 matchup and all that's happening is whenever an ability is used, you call out the timer on it. And that's for your own abilities. While this timer is going, the other player must attempt to force a favorable trade. And this drill is literally to teach players their trading windows, rough cooldowns for champions, alongside a number of micro attributes. This is taking your standard we're gonna do a 1v1 and just practice into actually we're going to try and analyze this a little bit. We're going to actually apply a little bit of theory to it and try and just get those extra little percentages out of every bit of practice that we do. Let's talk on the other hand here. If you feel yourself beginning to plateau, the simplest way of pushing through that barrier is another nice acronym called FITT, otherwise known as frequency, intensity, time, and type. If you're playing 7 games a day, switch your regiment to only playing 3 games. But make those games have your full attention, full tryhard, no distractions. If you're already playing like this, then change the type. The drills are aimed to aid the type of practice, as well as allowing you to maintain a higher level of intensity as the frequency you play is lower. So, for example here, when we're talking about competitive players and they're coming to the end of the season, you don't want to be playing 12 games a day. You want to be playing less games a day, but at far higher levels of attention. You play 3 games, your best 3 games. You play 5 games, your best 5 games. No more than them is required. Whereas at the start of a season, when you're beginning to learn and have to adapt as quickly as possible, you're going to play a lot of low quality, high frequency games. And that's really just the difference of when you're seeking information about a patch versus when you need to actually execute and play your best. The alternative is you can increase the amount of time you practice at that full focus and try hard level of intensity. And let's be honest with ourselves, if you're playing 7 games a day, really ask yourself, are you playing those 7 games at full focus? Are you giving yourself a break? Are you giving yourself adequate time to refresh? Is your mental capacity is a finite resource? Are you using it all in one sitting, or are you spreading that out and trying to get the best out of yourself? The other part is that eventually everyone becomes stale of their practice methods. To become the best requires a level of discipline, and that's to maintain your practice standards as well as maintaining your engagement with that practice. So I hope you're able to use these drills and understanding FITT and being able to change the frequency, the intensity, the time and type to really make sure that you're able to keep focus and not really burn out while practicing. For now, if that makes your life a bit more efficient in between the grinding and being able to hit your personal targets, then I'm really happy for you. Let me know what you think in the comments and we'll go from there.